Hello, my name is Cedar Ali, and my argument is that it is necessary to maintain an optimistic attitude or look at the bright side of events in order to maintain mental health. However, being too optimistic can be detrimental to human health. In The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin, an American author shows how jumping to the positives in a situation and blowing them out of proportion, especially in the time of huge tragedy, can lead to more harm than good in the end. While the main character went through the grieving process after her husband had passed, she too quickly jumped to optimism and became absorbed in how free and independent her life would now be. Instead of incorporating both the negatives and the positives at the same time, she heavily invested in one or the other. So when her final conclusion was shattered, her health failed along with it as she underwent a heart attack. So while it is important to integrate the positives as you dwell in a situation, the effects of the negatives and how to overcome them are just as important. To highlight the benefits of optimism, researchers at the University of Nebraska Medical Center found that looking at the positive side of a situation is necessary to maintain sanity. In the context of death, specifically of those resulting from cancer, when family members struggle to maintain hope for themselves and their loved ones, it will consequently lead to depression and emotional travesty as they revolve around the inevitable result every minute of their lives. So, however, simply assuming the best will occur in a situation such as which Miss Mallard believed when her husband died, is also not the correct method to approach events proven by her untimely demise. Medically, those who hoped for a cure displayed avoidance and disappointment, while those who transitioned to generalized hope, meaning hope for a good death, reported acceptance. To reach this mindset, it is necessary to maintain a positive attitude while incorporating rational thinking correspondingly. According to Amy Morin, a psychotherapist, when you're mentally stronger and can adequately respond to a situation, you don't have to hide your pain with unrealistic affirmations or exaggerated end results. In a real-life example, it would be like you're going to class and you're going to think, I'm going to ace this test. However, a rational and mentally strong person thinks, I'm going to do my best. So this way, no matter the outcome, they'll be okay with the end result. The necessity of this balance is emphasized in The Story of an Hour, as if Miss Mallard had gone over how to deal with what she had lost as well as what she had gained, her ideas wouldn't have been so engrossed in one end result. So, according to Christy Bamford and Kristen Hansen-Luguada, both researchers at the Department of Psychology in California, children after going through the same event, first a positive event and then a negative event, and then a neutral, thinking positively improved children's emotions and thinking negatively made them feel worse. With this idea of optimism needs to be ingrained at a young age as a safety mechanism for those dealing with a variety of occurrences, not to the extent that they exhibit a morbid reaction to terrible events, such as that of Miss Mallard had when her husband had died. If you are unable to see the positive side at all, it results in an abundant lack of happiness. A group of researchers at the Department of Psychiatry explained that as compared with healthy controls, brain systems that support cognitive reappraisal of situations, specifically seeing situations in a new or positive light, are functionally altered in youth depression, making them sadder as they continue to dwell on the negatives. In the situation of Story of an Hour, this effect of this inability to look at the bright side would be deleterious, as if Miss Mallard did not immediately indulge in her newfound freedom, she would have been left with grief and despair of the reality of losing a loved one had set in. So, proving this is Malgorzata Zabal-Kwipinska, a writer at the Catholic University of Lublin. With this fact that every person is equipped with cognitive buffers that enable them to reinterpret reality to maintain constant well-being. This is labeled as positive orientation, which is a human's natural tendency to look at the bright side of a situation. When people lose contact with these cognitive buffers, such as self-esteem and optimism, under the influence of negative circumstances, these negative emotions can evolve into depression. Meaning, if Miss Mallard hadn't turned to optimism when her source of happiness was taken away, that being her husband, her body would have automatically been thrown into a downward psychological spiral. Even with all these benefits, despite how ironic it sounds, there can also be a dark side to optimism. Too much optimism can be detrimental to human health because, according to Amy Morin, a psychotherapist, it can lead to overestimating success in various experiences throughout life. Actions such as exaggerating the positive, which is clearly shown in The Story of an Hour, and being overconfident in your own abilities can cause many to oftentimes find themselves wrapped up in toxic situations that they are unprepared for. An example would be the previously mentioned not studying for a test, as by looking at the best possible occurrence of a high grade, you instill into the idea into your head that you're already perfect in what you do and what you know. However, this might not be the case, leading you to overestimate your chance of success as you avoid studying more or doing something extra, ultimately leading to your demise. According to Owen O'Sullivan, an author for Dialogues in Philosophy, humans tend to overestimate the likelihood of success in work, relationships, and financial investments, which in turn can have a negative effect on our happiness in the end. This is because humans constantly simplify how we think situations will unfold in our heads and repeatedly overestimate how successful we will be in our differing adventures. This pattern follows us from childhood well into adulthood as we ignore the statistical likelihood of a negative event happening, such as the death of a loved one, the possibility of being diagnosed with a serious illness, or the occurrence of an accident. Instead, we are drawn to thinking of an ideal future for ourselves, free of all of life's grim realities. This can be proven in the story of an hour, as if the wife had considered all aspects of the situation and took her focus off of everything she would gain. In the long run, she would have been better off instead of dying from the joy that kills. The correct response to situations in life, instead of absolute positivity or negativity, is rational thinking. By finding a balance between the two, you are able to evaluate the impact of an event, how to overcome it, and are not plagued with pain caused by unrealistic expectations. By a complete negative mindset, you are bound to be plagued by sadness and depression, as when you can never see the good side of events, you'll never be able to make it through life's plentiful disappointments. While with a completely positive mindset, you are unequivocally going to be let down by every outcome, as your high expectations are never met. While looking at both sides of a situation may take away from the immediate joy of an event, the long-term benefits of considering all aspects far outweigh the consequences of being overly optimistic. These are my sources. Thank you very much.